Welcome to PWLIAS UPSC optional batch for public administration. Please confirm whether the audio and video is clear. So once again, people, this is my Telegram channel. Any doubts or queries, whatever you have, please post it over here. The last class we had just started off seeing, good afternoon, Abhinav, civil services. In that we saw the various systems of recruitment. We also saw how the exam had evolved through various reports, starting with the Macaulay Committee report all the way to Basavan Report Committee तक हमने देख लिया कि इसका एवोल्यूशन कैसे हुआ है और अंत में हमने ये भी देख लिया कि चांसेस है ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट को भी ड्रॉप करने का चांसेस है. This has been in the news since at least from 2017 onwards. That optional will be dropped. But why optional is not getting dropped? That is the next question. And like I told you, वो इसी वजह से है because optional continues to be the deciding factor when it comes to civil services examination. All right. Good afternoon, Suganya. So we are going to take the discussion further forward, and now we are going to see the HOTA committee. The minimum and maximum age at the recruitment be what it was from 1948 to 1971, that is 21 to 24 years for general candidates. This is one suggestion that is being given because there are two ways to look at it. On one side, we can say people are sitting and preparing for this exam like 30 साल, 40 साल, especially people with reservation, 30 साल तक, 35 साल तक, 40 साल, 45 साल तक, they are sitting and preparing for UPSC. यानी कि जो जर्नी, जो सफर 21-22 में शुरू हुआ था, वो 10 साल, 20 साल तक चल रहा है. So imagine a person sitting from morning till evening not doing anything other than sitting and studying, current affairs, NCRT, that book, this book. 20 साल बैठे बैठे क्या किया है? नॉलेज बढ़ा दिया है. नथिंग एल्स. जरा सोच लीजिए, इफ दैट लेवल ऑफ एफर्ट इज बीइंग पुट इनटू योर ओन बिजनेस, खुद का एक बिजनेस हो, क्या चाहे वो चाय की दुकान हो या एक स्टार्टअप के आइडिया हो, कुछ भी हो, अगर आप 10-12 घंटे 20 साल तक you are putting in, you will become a multi-crorepati easily. Because in a business, at least we know one thing, I am the major factor. Market अच्छे तरह से study करो, market में क्या चलेगा क्या नहीं, and based on that come out with a product. I can easily make my judgments there, decisions there. But UPSC is one such field where prelims में क्या होगा, mains में क्या होगा, interview में क्या होगा, कोई खबर नहीं है. साथ में how have others performed better than you or underperformed than you have no idea. So there is some merit in reducing the age. Ulta, many women or many professionals जो करोड़ों के सैलरी कमा रहे हैं 25-26 तक, they earn well and they are suddenly like, yaar, I'm not getting any kick out of this. I'm not getting any job satisfaction out of this. They leave their job and they come back and they start preparing for the services. Women who get married and have a kid, etc., they later come and prepare for civil services and they end up cracking it. So, considering the Indian demography, एक मिनिमम एज या फिर मैक्सिमम एज रखना वो नामुमकिन है, क्योंकि यू हैव बोथ द साइड्स की स्टोरी अलग अलग है यहां पर. फॉर मेनी मेन एंड मेनी विमेन हु डिजायर टू टेक अप सिविल सर्विसेज, दे टेक अप दैट डिसीजन आफ्टर व्हाट? आफ्टर 25. Yes, unfortunately in our country it is a sad thing that the youth of the country are all behind one single exam. It is not a bad thing to prepare for UPSC, not in any way, क्योंकि नजरिया ठीक करते हैं, your perspective to the country towards a lot of things will change. So it's a wonderful thing that if you prepare for civil service. प्रॉब्लम कहां पर है? सिविल सर्विस को अपने जिंदगी का सबसे अहम हिस्सा अगर आप बना दोगे तब प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, क्योंकि इफ यू क्लियर इट, इट इज ग्रेट, नो इश्यूज. आपने जो व्हाट इज इट दावा रख दिया वो हेल्प यू. You decided to take a gamble. Decided to gamble with your life, decided to go for it, full and full, सुबह से लेकर शाम तक, and it worked for you, great. सवाल यही आता है, अगर वर्क नहीं किया तो क्या करोगे? So always the people who crack the service, they will say, you should give full attention, full focus, this, that, etc. Do you think people who didn't clear never gave full attention and full focus? 99.97% of the people who don't crack the service, do you think they never did that? They never studied this, they never did this, they never did that. Thin margin ke upar they would have lost it out. So what is the bottom line? Civil services ke taiyari ke waqt, first attempt, give your best, no doubt about it. But second attempt say, what you have to do is start pursuing the other things. नौकरी ढूंढ लो, और एग्जाम्स दे दो, और एग्जाम्स दे दो, शादी आ रहा है कर लो, पैरेलली रखो. कीप यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन पैरेलली विथ अदर एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ लाइफ. डोंट स्टॉप लिविंग फॉर यूपीएससी. Midterm appraisal of officers, and if in that appraisal the officer is not found to be honest and performance oriented, then he should be weeded out of service on completion of 15 years on proportionate pension. This is being put into action from now. Yani ki if the officers are not performing, not just civil servants, that is anybody working in under the central government, PSUs included, if they are not performing well, remove them. Every ministry, department and office with a large public interface must have a few toll-free telephone number with voicemail facility. क्यों? Complaints देने के लिए. Officers of AIS on deputation to their home state must immediately report back to their parent cadres on expiry of their periods of deputation. Like I told you, these days, because everything is going online, all the officers who go for deputation, it is tracked and well maintained properly. Only one term of deputation for an officer of the AIS should be allowed to the home state. ये भी. This is also put into action. क्योंकि क्या होता है यहाँ पर, let us say, now I belong to the state of Kerala. And if I get my posting, my cadre is in UP, but culturally for me it is a total shock. So, only once I should be allowed to come to Kerala and serve under deputation. That is for 5 years. उसके बाद I have to go back. वरना क्या होता है? Here a vacancy will be created. This is the issue. So you will never get to know. And in Kerala, you are having an additional officer. जहां जरूरी नहीं है वहां एक एडिशनल आ रहा है, जहां जरूरी है वहां पर वैकेंसी क्रिएट हो रहा है. To increase the representation of women in the service, at least 25% members of higher civil services should be women, as against the existing level of 12 to 13%. Women in higher civil services should be given 4 years of leave with full pay in this entire service career, over and above the leave due to them under the normal rules. Such facility will enable them to balance their roles as officers with their roles as mothers. It is called as child care leave. CCL. Maternity leave है, वो अलग है. साथ में there is something called as CCL. So most of the government servants, what do they do is, जब बच्चे, जैसे कि समझो सुगन्या का 2 बच्चे होते हैं, one reaches 10th, the other is in 12th. Very critical stages as per Indian society. So Suganya can easily apply for what? Child care leave. 10 महीना आराम से she can sit at home and all that is paid. The entire leave will be paid leave it is. आराम से she can sit home and start taking care of her दो बच्चे who are in 10th, who is in 10th and 12th respectively. The Official Secrets Act should be modified to cover only the essential minimum requirements of national security, public order and individual privacy. अब ये क्या है? That is generally when you put up any RTI request in any government department. Most of the time what the officers there they will do is they will say that nahi, ye information we cannot divulge because it is part of officials. It comes under Official Secrets Act. They will not divulge the information, leading to what? A clear lack of transparency. तो होटा कमेटी का सजेशन ये है, ऑफिशियल सीक्रेट्स एक्ट के अंदर क्या कवर होना चाहिए? ओनली दोज मैटर्स ऑफ नेशनल सिक्योरिटी, पब्लिक ऑर्डर and individual privacy. To provide a clean, honest and transparent government, antiquated rules and procedures must be discarded and new simplified ones should be put in place. Such an exercise is absolutely essential for introduction of e-governance. ये भी सही है, पुराने कानून को मिटा दो, e-office, new criminal and no criminal laws. All these are a step in that direction. Annual property return of all public servants should be put up on the website. Even this annual property return, they have made it very, very strict. All of this are being made strict. I'm telling you, by the time you people enter the service, and once you enter, you will be like, किसने कहा कि गवर्नमेंट जॉब इतना आसान है? किसने कहा कि गवर्नमेंट जॉब में you can earn so much under the table? Nothing you will be able to do. I'll write and give it to you. Nothing you will be able to do. You will have to be satisfied with the salary what you will get. Because everything is going online. Even if you turn here and there, everybody will get to know. And the latest rules, IT bill जो एक latest कानून लाया गया है अभी. And according to that law, what is the main feature of that law? Finance Ministry will be, or rather the Central Board of Direct Taxes, Central Board of Indirect Taxes, they can monitor your social media account. सोशल मीडिया अकाउंट में आप किस तरह का जिंदगी जी रहे हैं, आप किस टाइप का प्रोडक्ट्स खरीद रहे हैं, आपको कहां कहां आपका सब्सक्रिप्शन है, ऑल दिस विल बी सीन. But you're not paying tax, but you are having a nice luxury life. You're going to London, you're going to Paris, all of that. Easily they will get to know, okay, this fellow is having some other source of funding. Income tax is going to come knocking on your door. Getting the picture here. So everything as it goes online, transparency is going to come by default. Rules should be framed under Benami Transactions Act 1988 for attachment or forfeiture of Benami or ill-gotten property of corrupt bureaucrats. वो अभी भी है. Anything that is Benami property, that is anything that is earned illegally, those assets are attached. ED. The Constitution be amended to enable the President or Governor to dismiss or remove public servants summarily in case of corrupt practice. अभी तक ये लाया नहीं है. करप्शन के लिए डिसमिसल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट by the president or the governor, this particular recommendation has not been taken up by the government so far. Removal is there, compulsory retirement is there, that is there, but dismissal from service, unheard of. All officers having a public interface to wear name badges while on duty. ताकि मालूम हो जाए, to create accountability this is. Clear? Junior officers at the cutting edge level of administration should be given training in customer services, attending to phone calls and resolving public grievances. That is almost to behave and talk well with public, just like call center executives. call center executives के तरह politely to deal with the public. Normally we don't see that. Normally what we see is people always will interact with the public how जैसे government officer बन गया, hey इधर आ, वो हाँ, देखो, you can do that. Not that I'm telling not to do it, because sometimes the public is also crazy. Sometimes when you talk to them very respectfully, they'll come and sit on your head. So the only thing you can do is what then? The only thing to do is, okay, where it is required, you show your power. But where it is not at all required, behave very decently, behave very normally. So a simple exercise what you can do from today is, whomever you are interacting with, especially with the public, call them sir. You're traveling in an auto, you went to a shop, why? Even if you're having pani puri from the roadside, sir, ek aur cup chai. Sir keh ke bula. So automatically two things happens there. First, you're learning to give respect. Number two, Kal, even if an unpad politician is your boss, you will have no hesitation in calling that fellow sir. Getting the point here? You are taking the initiative to give respect. That's a simple thing. Clear? Good afternoon, Sakshi. Let's see some second Administrative Reforms Commission recommendations. The Government of India should establish National Institutes of Public Administration to run bachelor's degree courses in public administration or governance or management. The selected university should also be assisted to offer such graduate level programs in public administration, governance or public management. These graduates from the National Institutes of Public Administration in selected universities would be eligible for appearing in the civil services examination. Further, other graduates would also be eligible to appear in the civil services examination provided they complete a bridge course in the core subjects. The bridge courses should be run by the same national institutes or universities. This is one thing which no other optional faculty will ever discuss. SARC के ये recommendation. SARC भी क्या कह रहा है? See, a civil servant, by now we have very well covered 60% of our syllabus. Don't you think this entire, especially paper 2, जैसे when we started from union government onwards, this is something which anybody who is going to write civil services should know. Union government क्या है? State government क्या है? District क्या है? Local bodies क्या है? Collector कौन है? They have to know. So what SARC has suggested is create a National Institute of Public Administration. एक नहीं, 4-5. And in all this, what should be the topic to be taught? Public administration, governance or management. Selected universities भी ये course offer कर सकते हैं. जो ये course खत्म किया है, only they will be eligible to appear for the civil service exam. What about BTech wale? What about MBBS wale? They will have to cover a bridge course. They will have to do a bridge course where the same topics, more or less the important topics, will be taught to them. Maybe 1 साल का या 2 साल का. Only then they will be eligible for what? Civil service examination. This is the first suggestion given by SARC. So let me tell you, even if optional kal gaya ya raha ya na raha, whatever is there, public administration will be its hissa. One or the other way it is going to be. Getting the point here, because this is the entire syllabus of public administration. If you see, this is basic common sense, or this is basic level knowledge which every civil servant should have before they enter the service. Clear, people? Moving on. The permissible age for appearing in the civil service examination should be 21 to 25 years for general candidates, 21 to 28 years for candidates from OBC, and 21 to 29 years for candidates from SC/ST, as also for those who are physically challenged. The number of permissible attempts in the civil service examination should be 3, 5, 6 and 6 respectively for general candidates, candidates from OBC, candidates from SC/ST and physically challenged candidates. Maximum attempt, they are telling it to be 6, minimum to be 3. Lowermost age 21, maximum 29. 30 के बाद का कोई चक्कर ही नहीं है. This is what SARC is telling. Recommendations these are, mind you. The preliminary examination should consist of an objective type test having 1 or 2 papers on general studies, including the Constitution of India, the Indian legal system, Indian economy, political history, and culture. There should be no optional subjects. This is what we are having currently. The main examination should consist of 2 papers only in the compulsory subjects. These compulsory subjects may include Constitution of India, Indian legal system, Indian economy, political history, and culture, etc. The question paper should be of the conventional descriptive type. Besides, there should be a separate essay paper as a part of the main examination. Not much relevant today because we have 4 GS papers, 1 optional paper and 1 essay paper containing 2 essays. The induction of officers of the state civil services into the IS should be done by the UPSC on the basis of a common examination. That is another recommendation. Every government servant should undergo a mandatory training at the induction stage and periodically during his or her career. Successful completion of these training programs should be a minimum necessary condition for confirmation in service and subsequent promotions. Mandatory induction training programs should be prescribed for Group T staff also before their assigned postings. क्या ये है आज? It is. That is Home Department के अंदर top level secretaries जो होंगे ना, जैसे कि joint secretary, additional secretary, etc. Very recently it was there in the news. Their increment or something was kept on hold till they completed a training module. ये पहले बार I was shocked, pleasantly shocked to read it because normally we have never heard of that. Normally such things are only there in the private field where they will ask us, you have to complete this online course, only then you will be eligible for increment. But this time I was surprised to see that in the government sector they have brought it. That only after clearing it, your salary or your increment or whatever has to come will come. So what has happened? जिन्होंने खत्म किया उनका आएगा increment immediately. Why? Both are online. Your salary has become online. Course completion has become online. पूरा का पूरा दोनों के लिए what is the common element? Aadhaar card. So जैसे you enter your Aadhaar details, your official ID, everything, you complete the course, your increment gets credited to your account. Getting the point here. So this is very much in relevance today. Aage. A National Institute of Good Governance may be set up by upgrading one of the existing national state institutes. This institute would identify, document, and disseminate best practices and also conduct training programs. As far as this best practices are concerned, उसके लिए हमारे पास आज एक institution है, नीति आयोग. Like I told you, सार्क का recommendations आ गया था यूपीए के दौरान. We have marched ahead of that. Getting the point here. उसके बाद बहुत सारे changes यूपीएससी के अंदर भी आ गए. हम पूरा का पूरा ऑनलाइन चलने वाले हैं अभी. So it doesn't make any sense today when we look at a few of the suggestions given by SARC. We actually feel, yeah, ये थोड़ा obsolete है. ये कैसा relevant है आज के ज़माने में? It is true. The reason is this, because it came from a different era when internet was still a luxury. For making appraisal more consultative and transparent, the performance appraisal system for all services should be modified on the lines of the recently introduced performance appraisal rules for the All India services. Government should expand the scope of the present performance appraisal system of its employees to a comprehensive performance management system. मतलब पूरा का पूरा online करने का. Make everything online, where every detail is available. This person posted in this district, what was the controversy, how was the feedback, this, that, etc. पूरा horoscope मिल जाएगा. So what happens because of this is, whenever there is a situation, you want some best officers to be there. The click of a mouse, it will be available. Who are the high performing officers in the country? अभी फिलहाल वो सिस्टम नहीं है हमारे पास, डेवलप हो रहा है. In another few years, like I told you, by the time you enter the service, all of this will become what? Completely online. Pura ka pura. So whatever you do, you don't do, everything will be visible there. And आसान भी नहीं होगा. You will have performance pressure because by the time you enter the service, 5-year review, 10-year review, 15-year review, ऐसे हो जाएंगे. 5 साल बाद भी there will be a review program, there will be a training program. They will look at your score, they will look at your marks. इतना मिनिमम मार्क्स अगर नहीं है या फिर इतना मिनिमम फिजिकल स्टैंडर्ड, फिजिकल फिटनेस नहीं है, डोंट वरी, दे आर गोइंग टू सेंड यू पैकिंग होम. They can make you medically unfit to continue in the service. Getting the point here? Annual performance agreement should be signed between the departmental minister and the secretary of the ministry or heads of departments, providing physical and verifiable details of the work to be done during a financial year. The actual performance should be assessed by third party. मतलब क्या है? Management by objective. Pakka proper target I am giving you. This much work you have to do. And if that is not being done, it can be assessed and reviewed by a third party, and accordingly the feedback will be given. For a transparent system of appointments in the government covering all ranks, the Commission has suggested the setting up of a central civil services authority. The authority should be a 5-member body with the chairperson appointed by the President on the recommendations of the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition to make it apolitical. किस चीज के लिए? Transparent system of appointments in the government, covering all ranks. जो भी हो, ऊपर नीचे कोई फर्क नहीं, यानी कि डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर से लेकर प्राइम मिनिस्टर के ऑफिस के सेक्रेटरी तक, प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी तक. For all of this, create one authority. So far, it has not been created. लेकिन when it comes to allocating secretaries for other ministries, बाकी मिनिस्ट्रीज के लिए किस टाइप की सेक्रेटरी चाहिए या नहीं चाहिए, when it comes to that, today प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स ऑफिस टेक्स द डिसीजन. पीएमओ आज तय करेगा कि कौन कौन से मिनिस्ट्री में सर्व करेगा. पीएमओ ये भी तय कर रहा है कि लेट अस चूज द नॉन आईएएस ऑफिसर्स. पहले ऐसा नहीं था. सेक्रेटरी का मतलब दैट इज इवन इफ लेट अस से आई एम एन आईआरएस ऑफिसर, साक्षी इज द आईएएस ऑफिसर. Now I will maximum expect what, okay, कमिश्नर बनकर रिटायर कर सकता हूं. That's it. That's the maximum dream that I have. ड्रीम नहीं, मुझे मालूम है अगर इतने साल के अंदर इतना सर्विस है तो इतने इतने सालों बाद कमिश्नर बनकर रिटायर हो सकता हूं. लेकिन एंड साक्षी विल बिकम द फाइनेंस व्हाट इज इट सेक्रेटरी एक्सेट्रा. लेकिन आजकल क्या हो रहा है, नॉन आईएएस ऑफिसर्स को दे आर सेलेक्टिंग देम एंड पुटिंग देम अंडर different ministries. At least the middle level secretary levels पर you're basically seeing what non-IAS officers को चुन रहा है. Getting the point here, people. Moving on. The commission is of the view that in order to avoid any conflict of interest, government officials should not be allowed to go on deputation to private commercial organization. Again, to prevent conflict of interest. In order to increase accountability, the Commission suggested a periodic review of the performance, for which it recommended a system of 2 intensive reviews, one on completion of 14 years of service and the other on completion of 20 years. The first review will primarily serve the purpose of intimating the individual about his or her performance, and the second is mainly to assess the fitness of the officer for his or her tenure, for his or her future continuation in service. The employees found unfit after 20 years should be dispensed with. This is happening right now. Like I told you, Rule 56J ke zariye, this is really happening. Silently it is happening. So silently means what? Media is not reporting it to that level. Dekho kya ho raha hai. No. But when you look at the number, close to, let us say, in 7 years or something, just in 7 years, the current government had sent home more than 700 officers. सिर्फ 7 साल के अंदर, more than 700. That means on an average, every year, 100 officers are told Tata bye-bye, either on compulsory retirement or they are removed from service. ये दोनों चीज, silently this is happening. Getting the point here, because it is from the totality of all the services put together. That is, central services, all India services, सब कुल मिलाकर just minuscule amount, फिर भी हो रहा है. By the time you enter the service, that number will still increase more because they will tighten the screws even more. Clear? Current trend. Urged over non-adherence to its directives, the center has asked all ministries to timely review the working of the employees so that the non-performers are prematurely retired from service. And where is the order coming from? In an order, the Department of Personnel and Training asked ministries concerned to direct the PSUs, banks, autonomous institutions, and statutory bodies under their administrative control to undertake the exercise of periodic review of employees. Dekh lo. Nothing is safe anymore. PSUs, banks, autonomous institutions, and statutory bodies. NHRC, for example. It said instructions have been issued from time to time for undertaking periodic review of the government servants' performance with a view to ascertaining whether they should be retained in service or retired from service prematurely in public interest. The administrative ministries and departments have repeatedly been requested to adhere to guidelines issued in this regard and furnish a report to this effect to the DOPT, said the order issued to the secretaries of all central government departments. मतलब बार बार डीओपीटी ने सारे मिनिस्ट्री से ये मांग लिया है कि आपके नीचे जितने भी डिपार्टमेंट्स है वहां पर जितने भी लोग काम कर रहा है उनका पीरियोडिक रिव्यू जो फॉर्मेट हमने डीओपीटी ने हमने आपको दे दिया है उस फॉर्मेट में आप फिल कर कर हमें वापस दे दीजिए. क्यों? कंपल्सरीली जिन लोगों को सर्विस में रखना है और जिन लोगों को प्रीमेच्योरली रिटायर करना है इसके ऊपर हमें फैसला लेने के लिए. बट वी नो no ministry has so far ever filed such a report in spite of repeatedly asking it, DOPT asking it. However, it has come to notice that various ministries and departments are not adhering to the set guidelines, resulting in delay in identifying the government employees due for review under relevant provisions of Fundamental Rules FR 56J Clause 1 and Rule 48 of Central Civil Services or CCS Pension Rules, now revised as Rule 42 of Central Civil Service Pension Rules 2021. These rules lay down the policy of periodic review and premature retirement of government servants and to ensure efficiency, economy and speed in the disposal of the government functions. तो ये दोनों रूल प्लीज याद रख लीजिए. रूल 56J, रूल 42, ये दोनों. Clear? The DOPT had set comprehensive and consolidated guidelines through its 2020 order, detailing the procedures to be followed in identifying the cases of premature retirement. मतलब 5 साल पहले ही इन्होंने दे दिया था कि किस क्राइटेरिया के मुताबिक you have to judge the officers. That also DOPT has issued already. That is why I am telling you the system has already been put into place. It is just that iska thoda what is it clarity issues hai, compliance issues hai. But by the time you enter the service, let me tell you, it will become solidified. All ministries and departments have been asked to furnish a report to the DOPT in a particular format by the 15th day of each month starting from July 2024 it added. That means last year. हर महीने 15 तारीख को जो लोग किनको रिटेन करना है जिनको नहीं इसका रिपोर्ट भेजते रहो. Every month you will be reviewed. Every month. And if they feel that okay, this is a corrupt officer, this is this type of officer, ये यहां पर नौटंकी करने के लिए आया हुआ है, don't worry, you will lose your job. Getting the picture here, people? Moving on. Civil service neutrality. Any questions here so far? Any doubts? So what we are going to see next is civil service neutrality. Civil service neutrality, when we say, it's impartiality. How you should be impartial towards different sets of groups, different sets of people, different sets of classes, neutrality towards politicians. That is what this article is about. Again, why we are doing this? बार बार हमने देख लिया है, डाइकोटमी देख लिया, ये देख लिया, वो देख लिया. Part of whatever content or write up you're seeing here, this is for your paper 1. उसके अंदर भी है ये topic. Part of this content is again relevant in your paper 2 because this is a very important area from where you can expect questions. Bureaucracy, very, very important. So again, most of whatever content you're going to see from now, ये बहुत general होगा. ऐसा नहीं है अरे वाह ये तो एकदम नया चीज है मुझे मालूम ही नहीं था. No. Whatever you're going to see is more or less what you already know. It is just that this content is needed while we write something. Because अगर अचानक से सवाल आता है, analyze civil service neutrality in the 21st century in India, you should have some content to write, right? So we are taking it from here. Neutrality means impartiality. The bureaucracy plays an important role in policy making as well as in its implementation. The permanence of members of the bureaucracy helps to provide them with a long-term perspective, while ministers tend to have a short-term perspective related to the elections. The bureaucracy has access to a lot of confidential information, which ministers often do not possess since they lack the time to read all the official documents. Many of the members of the bureaucracy are technically qualified, while ministers usually are amateurs. So, true, ministers are amateurs, because they are only there for 5 years, 10 years. Understand? Civil servants will be there for 25, 30 years, easily they will come. So, civil servants are in a better position to understand what an order is, to understand what an official document is, how to interpret the law. Ministers will not have that level of clue. So, goes without saying, bureaucrat is the technical expert here. Political expert कौन है? Politicians. For these reasons, there is considerable dependence upon the bureaucracy in all countries. In developing countries, interest groups and political parties are either weak or non-existent. Electoral systems are often defective, and the traditions and conventions of democracy have often not been well established. Hence, dependence upon the bureaucracy is greater in developing countries, making it more important that the bureaucracy should be neutral. Neutrality of bureaucracy can be discussed under 3 heads. So, see, developing countries, we know there will be a lot of bias. Like, for example, we know it very well. Economically, freebies is a very bad idea. But still, why are we giving it? Because that is what the people is demanding. How do we know people are demanding? Because whoever is announcing the highest freebie, they are the ones who are winning the election. So, इस टाइप के माहौल में it is important that bureaucracy at least should be objectively clear. Bureaucracy should behave like the economic man of Simon. उसके लिए सबसे खास quality क्या होना चाहिए? It remains neutral. And the neutrality can be studied under 3 heads. Neutrality between classes, neutrality between cultural groups, neutrality between political parties. बेशक you can easily say between classes का मतलब क्या है? अमीर और गरीब में कोई फर्क नहीं देखना चाहिए. न्यूट्रलिटी बिटवीन कल्चरल ग्रुप्स, हिंदू या मुस्लिम, नॉर्थ या साउथ, तमिल या हिंदी, मणिपुर, मेटीज या कुकीज, इनके बीच कोई फर्क नहीं देखना चाहिए. यू शुड बी न्यूट्रल देयर आल्सो. न्यूट्रलिटी बिटवीन पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, आम आदमी, बीजेपी, कांग्रेस, सीपीएम, तृणमूल, समाजवादी, डीएमके, एआईडीएमके, it shouldn't make a difference. So in all these aspects, neutrality should be maintained by civil servants. Let us take them one by one. Neutrality between classes. The bureaucracy is the government's main instrument and must be neutral between classes if justice is to be done. Justice means justice between classes is difficult to achieve because their interests often conflict. True. Hamesha, there is always a clash between what? Rich versus poor. It is only if the government and the bureaucracy are seen to be neutral that the conflict can be kept within limits and peace maintained. If, however, a class has the feeling that injustice is being done to it, it may take to the war path. Thus, disputes between capitalists and workers result in lockouts or strikes. Sometimes there is even violence and bloodshed. Samsung strike were in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu government was playing it very carefully. बिकॉज एक तरफ एम्प्लॉयज कुछ हक के मांग रहे थे, हमें ये चाहिए वो चाहिए एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. सैमसंग ऑन द अदर साइड वाज लाइक नथिंग डूइंग, वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू बेंड डाउन. बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली ना, सैमसंग सच अ बिग कंपनी, दुनिया भर कहीं भी जाकर अगर वो लोग बोले भैया आई वांट टू सेट अप माय फैक्ट्री हियर, पीपल विल बी रेडी टू वेलकम देम. उनके लिए क्या क्या इंडिया, क्या तमिलनाडु, है ना. लेट्स बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट हियर. So one side, Tamil Nadu government is worried about the vote from the people. On another side, they are worried about losing the business of Samsung. So government was constantly reminding the workers who are going on strike in Samsung that you are cutting your own hand. This will backfire. Company will go away from your business, will get shut down. Getting the picture? So it is a very tricky job for the government to balance it. And even for a bureaucrat also, because bureaucrat has to be what? Has to keep the public in mind, public welfare, labor welfare in mind, and also has to take care of the business side also. Not at all easy. The conflict between classes is greater in developing countries like India than in developed ones. This is because there are greater disparities in developing countries. The neutrality of the bureaucracy is important also because of its role in helping to bring about development. The government provides loans, subsidies, tax concessions, raw materials, and inputs to industrialists and farmers. So on one side, when corporate tax in India was reduced to encourage investment, on the other side, what we are doing? We are offering subsidy to our farmers in the form of what? Free electricity, fertilizer, minimum support price, and all these we are offering. So this is favoring the industries / corporates. This here is favoring the farmers, balancing it out. Or what happened very recently, reducing the tax burden on middle class. Clear, people? The classes of big industrialists and big farmers have a lot of political and economic power and therefore tend to monopolize these gains. However, development requires that small industries and small farms should also prosper. They are large in number and make substantial contribution to the national product. Justice also requires that they should not be ignored. Hence, it is important that the bureaucracy which distributes these facilities should do so impartially and justly. However, there are some problems in attaining these ideals. मतलब एक तरफ इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट का ध्यान देना पड़ेगा, दूसरे तरफ फार्मर्स का भी ध्यान देना पड़ेगा. दोनों को बैलेंस करना जरूरी है. बट ये करना भी आसान नहीं है भाई. One of these is related to bureaucracy social background. मतलब from where that bureaucrat is coming from. Bureaucrat is coming from a well-to-do family, born in city, raised in city, studied in all English medium schools, etc. Will that bureaucrat be able to do a fantastic job when it comes to poor people? In the movies, we have seen such bureaucrats doing a fantastic job, but in real life, will they actually get down to the ground level and work with the poor people? Chances are less. Getting the point here? Somebody from the rural background may be able to work in the city completely. But somebody from a city background, can they work in a rural area where infrastructure is minimal, bare minimal? Will they be able to do a decent job? How am I able to tell this? Best example, our doctors. So doctors is zyada, I don't think there is any other profession that demands service. Most of the doctors, whoever passes out from government college, they detest working in rural area. चाहते ही नहीं है कि रूरल एरिया में जाकर काम करें. Getting the point here? आगे. Most of the higher bureaucracy comes from a single class. Thus, about 70% of the IAS officers comes from urban, salaried or professional middle class. No doubt about it. Most of the people, unfortunately, are coming from the English-speaking urban class. This indicates that farmers and workers who constitute the majority of the population remain grossly underrepresented. Members of every class tend to be partial to the interest of their own class. If a large majority of members of the bureaucracy comes from a single class, bureaucracy is likely to be partial to this class. Possibility is there. So bureaucracy, when you say it is objective, it should be objective when you say, you can make it merit-based selection, etc. It is fantastic. Lekin representation wise, when you see representation from the lower class people or representation from the socio-economically disadvantaged section, representation from women, SC, ST, minorities, ये सब थोड़ा कम है. Getting the point here? So the so-called neutrality between classes is therefore difficult to achieve when more than 70% of the bureaucracy comes from a single urban class. It is not just with bureaucracy, even the faculties also, for example, when they teach. I remember still, it was one faculty from an academy, while taking an online class, he actually used an offensive word to, address the tribals of the country. और जहां तक ट्राइबल्स की बात है, वो तो वैसे ही डैश है. He made that statement. It shows one thing, his upbringing. Upbringing in the sense, I'm not telling about the parents ने गलत तरीके से उसका परवरिश किया. I'm not telling about that. The urban upbringing के वजह से not able to think from the perspective of a tribal individual. Unable to think. क्योंकि जहां तक एक्सपोजर नहीं है, वो कहां से समझ आएगा कि ट्राइबल कैसे सोचते हैं या फिर कैसे बर्ताव करते हैं या फिर कैसे फैसला लेते हैं. Some exposure you need to have, right? When you're living in Delhi or when you're living in Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, Pune, for 25-30 saal of your life, you are only going, whoever is not from metro, you will only feel all what is it? Whoever is not from the city, they are all bewakoof. That is what the person is going to feel because he doesn't know. Getting the point here? This is the problem. Aage. This problem can be solved to some extent by making the examination for recruitment most broad-based. Another problem relates to the influence of interest groups. A department that serves a certain interest is in the course of time likely to become identified with it. It has to come into close and continuous touch with persons having this interest, and it often has to function as the advocate of this interest. Department of Agriculture has to serve farmers by providing various facilities and has to obtain funds for this purpose. तो क्या करें इस चीज के लिए? Examination for recruitment broad based बना सकते हैं. That is one more reason why some committees are telling to drop the optionals. Especially the Baswan report. Optionals हटा दो. Keep it very general. सब general रख दो. Then it will become more egalitarian. That is what they are telling. But no, that is not the case. Ultimately, what is happening is just like with any other exam in our country, whoever is able to access the top institutions in the country, they are the ones who are able to crack the exam. Simple. ये तो it's like a written thing. Now, top academies, when I say, please understand, it is not the high paying ones. Quality education जो दे रहा है academies में, तो academy के लिए जाने के लिए भी क्या जरूरत है? पैसे की जरूरत है. तो only who can afford it will be able to go for it. Getting the point here. What is the other issue? When you keep working in the same department for too long, you will end up becoming wafadar to that department. It's a natural thing. So if you keep working with farmers for too long, you will be too attached to farmers' welfare. You will only think from farmers' perspective. You will not think from the perspective of an industrialist. If you keep working in the, well, let us say in the corporate sector, you will never be able to understand the emotions of the farmers. Taking it further forward, in this process, the farmers' lobby and the Department of Agriculture are likely to become mutually supportive. If the interests of farmers and industrialists clash, as they often do, Department of Agriculture is likely to take the side of farmers. Hence, such specialized agencies are in danger of losing their neutrality. This problem has arisen in an acute form in the United States with regard to various constituency agencies. तो यूएस में ये हो रहा है. सेपरेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस है, सेपरेट डिपार्टमेंट्स है हर चीज के लिए. लेकिन वहां पर क्या हो रहा है? डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर बोलेगा नहीं, वी आर विद द फार्मर्स. डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ इंडस्ट्रीज विल से नो, वी आर विद द मैन्युफैक्चरर्स. तो डिफरेंशिएशन हो चुका है, डिफ्रैक्शन हो चुका है, लेकिन सब लोग अपने अपने फायदे के लिए लड़ रहा है. Because of which there is no equality, there is no justice or no equality at all. In developing countries like India, tends to arise mainly with regard to agencies dealing with powerful interests like those of big industrialists and big farmers. यहां पर department may not be that strong. Department strength depends upon who they are representing. If they are representing big industrialists, definitely it will be a strong department. If they are representing the farmers, definitely it will end up becoming strong. किसके लिए लड़ रहा है matters in India or in developing countries like India. The solution to it lies in the development of organizations of hitherto weaker sections of the society. Efforts are now being made in India to help landless labor to organize itself. Hitherto means till now. जो अब तक वीक थे, कमजोर थे, उनका ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बनाओ. And that is the reason why government is focusing on what? Farmer, producer, organization. Efforts are now being made in India to help landless labor to organize itself. Similarly, if various interests organize themselves and demand better political control over the bureaucracy so as to ensure its responsibility and accountability, it is likely to remain more neutral. मतलब सिर्फ इतना है, जो सारे कम्युनिटीज का जो वीक है, उनका खुद का एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, फॉर विमेन, फॉर द एससीज, फॉर द एसटीज, फॉर द फार्मर्स, फॉर द लेट अस से द वीवर्स, फॉर द फिशरमैन. ऐसे से करके जब सब लोग इकट्ठा हो जाएंगे, then we can try to maintain neutrality between classes to a certain extent. That is the only solution here. I'm not telling it will become easy. It will become even more difficult. But some extent you will be able to take what? Satisfying decision, or at least a decision that is bounded by rationality. Neutrality between cultural groups. Our society consists of groups based on religion, caste, language, and region. While all these groups may have common interests, they also come into conflict to some extent. The bureaucracy is required to hold the balance between the various groups. Hence, it is important that it should be neutral between them. Since the conflict between cultural groups is generally greater in developing countries, the significance of the bureaucracy's neutrality is also greater in these countries. सही बात है. मजहब के नाम पर, जात के नाम पर, भाषा के नाम पर, रीजन के नाम पर, we have plenty of conflicts here. Hindu-Muslim riots, caste-based riots. Very recently, like I told you, in the state of Tamil Nadu again, upper caste youth beat to lower caste youth. For what? Because they were driving motorbike. किसका? उनके खुद का. खुद के गाड़ी चलाने के वजह से मार खाना. Have you heard of it anywhere? UP, etc. If you go, if the lower caste person sits on the घोड़ा, horse, बारात लेकर शादी के दौरान, that's it, कांड ही हो जाएगा. खुद के शादी के दिन cannot sit on a घोड़ा if you are from a lower caste. Clear? So all these issues are the language, again, 3 language issue we are having, regional issue that also we are having. The way to the achievement of such neutrality and also to the general reduction of conflict between cultural groups lies through better education. That is the only way. Educating people is the only way towards this. If the attitudes of the people can be changed through education so that they come to regard themselves more as belonging to the Indian nation than to a particular group based upon religion, caste, language or region, the conflict between groups can be reduced. 1 minute, people. Yeah. Caste, religion or region, the conflict between groups can be reduced. That is, I know, thoda यूटोपियन वाला आइडिया है. अगर सब लोगों को ये मालूम होता है कि थ्रू एजुकेशन दैट वी आर इंडियंस फर्स्ट, जात, लैंग्वेज, रीजन, रिलीजन ये सब कोई काम की बात नहीं है, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, देन दिस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कैन बी रिड्यूस्ड. Try going and telling to your own family that I want to marry somebody from another caste. Murder only will happen in your home. So when the mentality in the home, each Indian household, as long as it doesn't change, these things are bound to be there. Members of the higher bureaucracy are recruited mostly from among those who have received higher liberal education. Again, generality, because one thing is that people who are generally urban born, urban bred and brought up, they generally don't have any idea about what their caste is. Their parents also, at the moment they go start filling the form and the caste column is there, they'll just write the general category and they will leave it at that. So the kids have no idea, कोई अंदाजा ही नहीं है कि ये जात का चीज क्या होता है. Getting the point here. So many parents are doing that, and that is the only way to take this discussion forward. That drop the caste itself totally, drop that identity itself. So that once you don't know about the identity, everything will fall within what? Everything will fall within zone of acceptance. है ना? If higher liberal education really broadens the mental horizon, members of the higher bureaucracy should be among the most broad-minded people in the society and hence neutral between cultural groups. Muslims in India have low HDI than other socio-cultural groups. Most Sikhs in Punjab have a rural background. Members of the scheduled caste all over India are generally poorer and have a lower social status than others. Many of them are landless laborers. Conflict between cultural groups can be reduced by narrowing the disparities between them. This is the reality. So when we see, okay, so sometimes when people say, some media, etc. report, okay, farmers who are protesting, they are all from Khalistan. They are all Khalistan supporters. What nonsense is that? Yeah, there are a few from the community who are fighting for the Khalistan cause, for the terrorist organization. But based on few minority there, How are you generalizing and telling that all the people who fought or rather revolted or resisted them, protested against the farm laws, they are all terrorists? Now, Muslims, they will always, not all of them, again, some of them at least will keep telling, we are in danger, we are being attacked, this, that, etc. But what is the main focus that the community should be doing on? Whether they should be worrying about their religion or should they be actually be worried about their low HDI? Poor in life expectancy, poor in terms of per capita income, poor even in terms of health outcome. Then scheduled caste भी ले लो, इनका भी हालात बुरा है. Getting the point here. So, what is the solution to all of this? Education. That is the only way for the class to develop itself. Each cultural group, when they come forward with education, armed with education, is the only way by which they will be able to uplift themselves. Clear? One of the effects of such disparities is that a cultural group having a lower social and economic status has a lower representation in the bureaucracy also. मतलब जिनका एजुकेशनल आउटकम बहुत पुअर है, समझ लो, उनका representation in Indian bureaucracy is also less. It's true for SCs, STs, Muslims, and all other religious minorities. Such a bureaucracy with higher representation of certain groups than others is often not perceived as being neutral. Hence, the reduction of socio-economic disparities between cultural groups will not only reduce conflict between them, but also make for a more representative and neutral bureaucracy. मतलब अब bureaucracy का representation भी अगर आप देखोगे तो maximum are from the general category. Very few are from the lower caste, very few are from other religious minorities. Getting the point here. And what is the only way to change it? Start bringing up or uplifting the other communities by education. Programs aiming at poverty removal, better health and education services, and loans to small farmers and industrialists constitute part of the governmental effort to reduce disparities. Further, if a cultural group suffers from poverty and exploitation and is unable to find adequate representation in the bureaucracy, special measures are taken to help it in getting such representation. Thus, some universities and state institutes run special courses for preparing those belonging to weaker sections for competitive examinations for entry into the bureaucracy. That is the Christian run. Then for Muslims also it is there. For the Jain community it is there. That is, they are running free courses based on scholarship, whereby which they will give money and they will pay the fees for the coaching academies, etc., so that they are able to perform better in the civil services. The Constitution of India permits reservation of posts in the bureaucracy for any backward class of citizens under Article 16, Clause 4. Many of the reserved seats, however, remain unfilled due to the non-availability of candidates with requisite qualifications belonging to the weaker sections. Still, these measures are able to help in having a more representative and more neutral bureaucracy. I know it is a little comprehensive, it's a little vast only. That is the general way by which I give the notes, so that something you will remember while writing it. So, two things we saw: neutrality between classes, neutrality between cultural groups. Final one, which we have already discussed multiple times, is neutrality between political parties. Competition between political parties is an essential characteristic of a democracy. Democracy becomes meaningful only if the voter can choose between candidates of different parties. The exercise of choice by voters at general elections results in the formation of the government by one of the contending parties. Fulfillment of the wishes of the people requires the implementation of these policies. The main instrument of the government for the implementation of its policies is the bureaucracy. Hence, it is important that the bureaucracy should be neutral between parties. Such neutrality alone can ensure the fulfillment of the wishes of the people. While the neutrality of the bureaucracy is accepted as an ideal, many problems arise in practice and come in the way of the fulfillment of this ideal. One such problem has been the spoil system, under which the winning party appoints its followers or supporters at different positions in the bureaucracy. Multiple times we have discussed this. That is the only reason I'm just reading it out. It's the same thing only. So far, nothing great about it. Spoil system, where do you see? Like I told you, this in India, we largely stray at the state levels. Such a bureaucracy naturally lacks in merit and efficiency. The spoil system brought home the advantages of neutrality of the bureaucracy. The spoil system tends to arise with democracy but has to be curbed later on. It prevailed in the US during most of the 19th century. The effort to replace it by the merit system through selection of permanent officials by a civil service commission began with the passage of the Pendleton Act in 1883. In developing countries where democracy arose around the middle of the 20th century, spoil system often tended to exist despite a civil service commission. Thus, the members of the Civil Service Commission themselves are chosen from among the supporters of a political party. The neutrality of those whom they select can hardly be ensured. Yani ki, if the political party chooses their man chahate log, then you cannot call the bureaucracy to be what? Neutral. So, only criteria for selecting an official should be what? Neutrality, objectivity. For example, I think it was in Odisha very recently again, a person got appointed to the post of the PSC chairman, that is Odisha Public Service Commission chairman. But it caused such a ruckus in Odisha. Why? Because on this chairman, the person who got selected to that job, उसके ऊपर पहले से एक विजिलेंस केस है. तो जिसके ऊपर एक विजिलेंस केस है, उसे आप कैसे इतने महत्वपूर्ण पोस्ट में जाकर बिठा सकते हैं? PSC chairman is not a small job. It is an important job. So, how can you put at the top an individual, the top of a state public service commission, an individual who has a tainted track record? In India, the constitution contains several provisions for the maintenance of the independence of public service commissions. These are as follows. The chairman or a member of the commission can only be removed from his office by the president on the ground of misbehavior, according to the report given by the Supreme Court after holding an inquiry. The conditions of service of a member of a public service commission cannot be to his disadvantage after his appointment. The expenses of a commission are charged on the Consolidated Fund of India or of the concerned state. A chairman or a member of a commission, on ceasing to hold office, cannot get employment under the government except at higher post in a public service commission. Another problem which tends to interfere with the neutrality of the bureaucracy between political parties is the development of loyalty towards the politicians in power. Just like I told you, the best example for this is you can definitely use this information, not at all a problem, because it is available already in the public domain. Complaint भी गए थे इस ऑफिसर के खिलाफ because he was very close to the Odisha chief minister, Mr. Biju Patnaik. He was very close to the Odisha chief minister. He was even and complaints had gone. The moment they were, that is a DOPT was about to take action on him, that is not action, initiated an investigation against the conduct of him as an officer. He resigned and officially joined the political party. Clear, people? Members of the bureaucracy who have been selected impartially by a civil service commission can later, in the course of their career, shed their neutrality and become aligned with party or the individuals in power. Best example, former Chief Secretary of West Bengal, who again resigned and joined Trinamool Congress. According to the Shah Commission, this problem existed during the emergency in India. We know it because at that point of time, bureaucracy just went by what? Follow the orders. And they were also responsible for making the emergency a grand success. They followed as per the order. Getting the point here. Some writers maintain that nowadays also there is a tendency for the development of such relationships of alliance between ministers belonging to different political parties and senior civil servants also in governments of different political parties in India. Thus, it is suggested that the problem is not related to any particular party, but rather to the underdevelopment of our political system. Solution then lies in political development. Means politicians should have class. How can you expect it when almost close to 50% of MPs are having criminal antecedents? That number is now different even for state levels. State level में भी अगर आप जाकर देखोगे तो in some states it is more than 50%. So until and unless the quality of the politicians change, there is nothing much that you can do for bureaucracy. Politicians will always try to control bureaucracy. Politicians will always try to control the police officers. क्योंकि उनके हिसाब से पावर का मतलब क्या है? The ability to control the government servants. Clear? Political development requires strengthening and improving the working of the various parts of the political system, interest groups, political parties, the electoral system, mass media, legislatures, judiciary, and the political and bureaucratic parts of the executive. Thus, if interest groups representing various interests in society put constant pressure upon the government, it will become difficult for a minister and a bureaucrat to collude for making unjust and partisan gains. वापस वही चीज. In our society currently, the biggest problem is politician is very powerful. Followed by that, it is the bureaucracy. उसके नीचे आ रहे हैं मामूली जनता. This is how it is. Instead, what is the other solution? The other solution is if every interest group in the society grows and becomes strong, they can give a good tucker to the politicians and bureaucrats. That is not there in the society right now, right? अब क्या हो रहा है? Abhi we when a politician comes, we are like, oh, sir has come, sir has come. This is how we are behaving. Why? Politician is also doing a job. MP is doing a job. MLA is doing a job. I am doing a job. You are doing a job. That's it. In USA and all, if you go, it is like, Mr. President, this is how they will talk. Mr. President, how are you? That's how they will talk. I could be just a, let us say, a worker in a factory. A president passes me. Hi, how are you? That's it. It's not the reverence what you find it in India. The hero worship or the heroine worship. So former President Barack Obama, if you go to USA now, you will see him somewhere sitting in the supermarket or sitting in a park or somewhere. You'll be like, that's it. This is all that is. Former President of USA just sitting in a park. Are you serious? That is how we will feel. Whereas in our country, what will happen immediately? Sir, one selfie, sir, one selfie. We'll go immediately. Why? Because we feel we don't have an identity of our own. And that individual feeling of a lack of identity is there for us collectively also. So the only way you can hold the politicians and bureaucrats under control is if everybody becomes what? A strong group in itself. If there is internal democracy in the ruling political party, its leaders also will remain accountable to the rank and file of the party and not try to make selfish gains with the complicity of members of the bureaucracy. Internal democracy का मतलब क्या है? I can ask what the party leader is doing. I can question the party's decisions. I can question them. But if I cannot do that, then what will happen? If that party is run in such a way that, I am the boss, I will say everything, I am right, you are wrong. If this is the scenario, political parties, when they try to control bureaucrats, there will be nobody to ask any questions. Clear? The electoral system helps to elect those who can truly represent the people. Elected politicians will tend to be more responsive to the people and are likely to refrain from misusing the bureaucracy. If the mass media are healthy and powerful, they'll provide for effective communication between the rulers and the ruled and help to make the will of the people prevail. Properly functioning legislatures will keep both the politicians and bureaucracy under check and make them behave with realization of their responsibility and accountability. तो क्या क्या बदलना है? electoral system, we should choose the right people. Mass media should report everything honestly and sincerely. Number three, proper functioning of legislature. 100 दिन भी बैठ नहीं पा रहा है, क्या करोगे ये सब? So all of this should fall in line for us to have what? A classy, professional, political leaders in the country. Getting the point here, people? In short, the growth of democratic consciousness and institutions is likely to deal with the problem of alliance between ministers and civil servants for making selfish gains. Our standard should improve. That is the only way. We as a society should improve in our thinking. We should go beyond caste, religion, region, etc. Only when we grow out of this, we view an individual purely on the basis of merit, only then we can expect what? The political system or the landscape to change in the country. And once the political landscape changes, that is when bureaucracy also will change. Clear? Recent examples, we will continue after a break. It is 15:17. We'll continue from 15:30. So, like I told you, that neutrality section, that entire thing, I know it's a very comprehensive, very extensive content. The fact, like I told you, it is because in the exam, if it comes, you have to be in a position to at least give the 3 heading and write few points under it, plus give some examples. This is what we really need. Supreme Court rulings. Civil servants are required to be politically neutral and under the administrative control of ministers for implementing the day-to-day decisions of the elected government. The day-to-day decisions of the Council of Ministers are to be implemented by a neutral service under the administrative control of ministers. In order to ensure that the functioning of the government reflects the preferences of the elected ministers and through them the will of the people, it is essential to scrutinize the link of accountability between the civil service professionals and the elected ministers who oversee them. ये वो जो लिंक जो है तगड़ा होना चाहिए. Ministers should be able to control whom? The politically neutral civil servants. आगे. Elaborating on the triple chain of command, the verdict said civil service officers are accountable to the ministers, who in turn are accountable to the parliament or assemblies, and these houses are accountable to the electorate. So, if we have to look at it, bureaucrats accountable to legislature. Sorry. Bureaucrats accountable to ministers. Sorry. 1 minute. Ministers accountable to legislature. Legislature accountable to electorate. One, two, three. Triple chain of command. An unaccountable and a non-responsive civil service may pose a serious problem of governance in a democracy. It creates a possibility that the permanent executive, consisting of unelected civil service officers who play a decisive role in the implementation of government policy, may act in ways that disregard the will of the electorate. In other words, what does it mean? इनके कंट्रोल मिनिस्टर्स के हाथ में होना जरूरी है. There is no doubt about it, because ministers have to answer in the legislature. Legislature has to give answers to the electorate. If this system is not there, then bureaucrats will do what? Their manmani. They will do whatever they want. So bureaucrats have to be responsive and accountable and under the control of ministers for the benefit of the electorate. Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra. This was a major controversy that erupted last year actually. That is just before the elections. That is, central government basically decided that, or they rather understood, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के बहुत सारे स्कीम्स हैं जो आम तौर पर बहुत सारे लोगों को पता भी नहीं है. नॉट अ हैरान होने वाली बात नहीं है, बिकॉज इफ यू आस्क अ यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट हु इज सिटिंग एंड प्रिपेयरिंग फ्रॉम मॉर्निंग टिल इवनिंग, इवन दे वोंट बी नोइंग हाउ मेनी स्कीम्स आर देयर. जब हम प्रिपेयर कर रहे थे, हमारे जमाने में स्कीम्स के लिए अलग क्लास रखना जरूरी ही नहीं था, क्योंकि कम कम स्कीम्स ही थे. तो इट इज वेरी इजी. ओके, cities के लिए जवाहरलाल नेहरू नेशनल रूरल अर्बन मिशन, ओके डन. देन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए रैपिड transportation system, okay, RTS done. So few schemes were only there, but these days the central schemes have increased, especially the central sector schemes. If you see, there are so many in number that sometimes we only get confused. अरे ये स्कीम है, उज्जाला है, उज्ज्वला है, उज्जाला है, ये क्या है ये सब? It's not easy. So basically what the government decided, they decided to go for a Viksit Sankalp Bharat Yatra, Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, where government servants will be made responsible for telling it to the people about the the different schemes. Problem was, now ये क्या कर सकते हैं? Actually yes, because being an IAS officer, let us say now Abhinav is an IAS officer, it is his responsibility to make the people know that center में ये scheme है, वो scheme है, etc. है. Then why was there a controversy? The controversy was regard to a title that was given. Let us see what it is. The government passed an order asking government officials to communicate to the public about the various central sector schemes. Under the initial order, the government officials were called Rath Prabharis. The government's directive meant that officials ranging from high echelons like the joint secretary rank down to the village level will be assigned roles for public outreach programs showcasing the current government's work. The decision was subject to scathing criticism from various sections of political opinion. अब क्या ये कर सकते हैं? Where you are telling the government servants are told, you go and tell each people about our central schemes. Actually कर सकते हैं. It is not part of, you cannot say that it is not part of a government servant's job. Because when public come to you, you should be able to tell them, these schemes are there of the central government. Why are you not utilizing it? You fill the form and give it to me. I will put you up for that. इसमें कोई गलत बात नहीं है. The problem was with the timing. Because other political parties basically felt that if you are going to talk about all your schemes, it is nothing but what? Campaigning. ये election campaigning के बराबर है. Plus, the other problem was obviously with this title, Rath Prabharis. That was the other issue. In response, the government issued a clarification that did away with naming senior officers nominated to administer the 2-month show as Rath Prabharis. Instead, they would be called nodal officers. Getting the point here? Nodal officer का मतलब क्या है? Somebody who is in charge. तो they just removed. The government also understood, okay, Rath Prabharis मैंने हटा दिया, अब मैं nodal officer बना दिया इसको. मतलब I am in charge. Now it is my responsibility to ensure that my juniors comprising of Abhinav, Suganya, Sakshi, that okay, these are the schemes. You tell it to the people about these schemes. I have to ensure that my subordinates are communicating it to the people. Now it is properly official. With the new nomenclature, the government is essentially dealing the role from the theme of the program, giving it a more generic ring. More generic ring means this became just like any other routine instruction. Just a routine thing. Normal calm. Getting the point here. But same thing only. I have to communicate with the people with regard to the various central sector schemes. Rules. Rule 3 of the Conduct Rulebook for the All India services comprising the IAS, IPS and IFOS mentions maintaining political neutrality as one of the essentials for a career in the civil service. The rule to disengage from political power competitions and participation in electoral contests except voting is further elaborated in Rule 5. Rule 5 mentions non-participation in political activity but does not further define it. The ethos of neutrality has been part of bureaucratic systems in the modern state, even that of the British era Indian civil services set up by Lord Cornwallis in 1793. So these are the next two rules that you have to remember. Rule 3 and 5. किस चीज के लिए? Political neutrality maintain करने के लिए. Rule 3, subclause 3, subclause 1 requires obedience to the official superior, which in many situations may have the political executive at the apex. So this may present political context in which neutrality and hierarchical obedience are in a trade-off equation. The conduct rules covers a wide range of issues from the ambiguous idea of personal integrity to more specific actions. For instance, Rule 3, Clause 1 states that every member of the service shall at all times maintain absolute integrity and devotion to duty and shall do nothing which is unbecoming of a member of the service. मतलब Rule 3, subclause 1 उसमें क्या कहते हैं? You should be completely obedient to your superior. So when your political boss is telling you something, can you be completely neutral? Very difficult it is. Because the rule clearly says that you have to listen to them. Could be a blunderous decision, it could be an administrative blunder, political blunder, but you have no choice but to listen to it. Best example, 1975-77, emergency time period. So it is not actually easy to remain neutral. Because when you show absolute obedience to your political superior, you also end up supporting that particular political party. आसान नहीं है. Then Rule 3, Clause 1 talks about maintaining integrity. लेकिन ये integrity specifically क्या है? This has not been defined. This rule is purposefully vague and can be applied to individuals in case of any wrongdoing, even if the allegations are not covered under any more specific rules. For example, while promotion of casteism is not covered under any specific conduct rules, casteist behavior can be interpreted as unbecoming of a member of the service under Rule 3, Clause 1. Simple. That is specifically integrity, unbecoming of an officer. वो अलग हरकतें you shouldn't do. You should only behave like an officer. So casteism is not clearly mentioned anywhere, but it is considered to be unbecoming. Being communal, it is unbecoming. Taking dowry or demanding dowry, unbecoming of an officer. On the other hand, Rule 4, Clause 1 of the AIS Conduct Rules is more specific. It states, no member of the service shall use his position or influence directly or indirectly to secure employment for any member of his family with any private undertaking or NGO. Matlab, not to help your family members for getting into a job or something. Rule 5, Clause 1 states, no member of the service shall be a member of or be otherwise associated with any political party or any organization which takes part in politics, nor shall he take part in or subscribe in aid of or assist in any other manner any political movement or political activity. Rule 5, Clause 4 states, no member of the service shall canvass or otherwise interfere with or use his influence in connection with or take part in an election to any legislature or local authority. That means completely stay away from politics. That is what Rule 5 clearly says, especially for what? For All India service, especially, it is very, very important. While members can hold personal political beliefs, these rules restrict the degree to which they can act on them. Rule 7 of the AIS rule states, no member of the service shall in any radio broadcast or communication over any public media or in any document published anonymously, pseudonymously, or in his own name or in the name of any other person, or in any communication to the press or in any public utterance, make any statement of fact or opinion which has the effect of an adverse criticism of any current or recent policy or action of the central government or the state government, or which is capable of embarrassing the relations between the central government and any state government, or which is capable of embarrassing the relations between the central government and the government of any foreign state. पूरा रूल 7 का मतलब क्या है? No criticism. You cannot criticize the local government, state government, central government, or even a foreign government while you are officially working. Simple. तो फेसबुक में एक पोस्ट डालना, यहां तक एक शेयर भी अगर आपने किया, you did not put any post, but somebody's post you liked, you shared it. Even for that reason alone, you can get a suspension or a transfer, or depending on gravity of the situation, they can even put you on what? Compulsory leave. Clear, people? However, civil servants are allowed to express their opinions on official files and other official documents and can even talk to the media during field postings. What they can tell the media, though, is restricted to their job or some specific event or issue. Personal beliefs on wider issues are not to be aired. That is, जितना कहा गया है उतना ही आप communicate कर सकते हैं. You cannot say, I am complete, I have fundamental right of expression, I have fundamental right to do this, do that. So there is this guy, again, IAS officer, Mr. Prashant from Kerala. He openly criticized his super senior. And the joint secretary or somebody openly criticized him on an online platform. His argument was that मैंने officially जो बताना था बता दिया, उसके बावजूद भी कोई action नहीं हुआ, इसलिए मैं went online. And then he went on to give media interviews telling that I am not going to bend down. I am an individual. I know my fundamental rights, etc. I wish he had properly read the All India Service Conduct Rules. He was suspended. He was suspended immediately from the service. You are not supposed to do that. आप अगर कोई प्राइवेट कंपनी में भी काम कर रहे हैं, that is, you are inside Infosys. Now I have basically in this platform again twice or thrice I have criticized Mr. Narayana Murthy. I can do that here because Narayana Murthy does not own PW. But if he is the owner of PW and if I have criticized his 70-hour work policy, I will be fired within the next 24 hours. Next 24 hours I'll be fired. So make it very clear, people. Anything you want to say, do, etc., it should not be in the media. Officially, you can do it. मीडिया में बस उतना ही कहना है जितना आपको इजाजत दिया गया है. That's it. Once selected to the services, officers receive numerous marriage offers. Influential families, including big political ones, covet civil servants as husbands for their daughters and are willing to pay a big price to win their hand in marriage. A civil servant's job security, status and perks received plays a major role in inflating dowry demands. Aajkal, you don't have to, especially to the boys here, you don't have to demand dowry, you will get it rather. Officials from the DOPT even receive queries to provide contact details of candidates selected. At the same time, civil servants and their families too are willing to receive a big dowry. But as far as rules are concerned, both giving and receiving dowry is strictly prohibited. Rule 11, Clause 1A of the AIS rules on giving or taking of dowry states, no member of the service shall give or take or abet the giving or taking of dowry or demand directly or indirectly from the parents or guardian of a bride or bridegroom, as the case may be, any dowry. In fact, any big gift a civil servant receives needs to be reported. Rule 11.1 states a member of the service may accept gifts from his near relatives or from his personal friends having no official dealings with them. On occasions such as wedding, anniversaries, funerals, and religious functions, when the making of gifts is in conformity with the prevailing religious and social practice, but he shall make a report to the government if the value of such gift exceeds rupees 25,000. The threshold of rupees 25,000 was last fixed in 2015. 25,000 से ज्यादा once you enter the service, 25,000 से ज्यादा अगर आपको आपके कोई पर्सनल रिश्तेदार, आपके कोई दोस्त आपको गिफ्ट दे रहा है, अगर वो 25,000 से ज्यादा है, you have to report it. Mind you, gift from families is only entertained. Gift from other political parties, gift from any private businessman, gift from somebody who is no way related to you, that is never entertained. That is seen as plain corruption. Besides these conduct rules, there is also the Prevention of Corruption Act, POCA. Our action on corruption in India is based less on intelligence and more on complaints. While anonymous complaints are not entertained, complaints with name and details of complainants do hardly ever reach the proper forum. Fora where such complaints can be made include Central Vigilance Commission, Lokpal, and other investigative agencies. Like I told you, when a corruption case, etc. goes, first permission has to be taken. Central Vigilance Commission, permission has to be given by the government. After that, CVC conducts the inquiry, submits the report to the government. After the report is submitted, then the government will decide whether to take action or not. If it's a major case, then they will put the CBI into it. Before all of this, what will happen? Officer will take VRS, voluntary retirement from service. And once you retire or resign, there is no way by which people will come behind you for any investigation. Committed bureaucracy. Committed bureaucracy means to be committed to your work, to be sincere towards your job. So let us see. According to Weber, the main characteristics of a bureaucracy are hierarchy, division of labor, specialization, rules, and impersonality. All these factors make for efficiency. At the same time, however, a bureaucracy suffers from alienation. According to Marx, the members of bureaucracy suffer from loss of freedom, creativity, humanity, and morality. Weber agrees that members of bureaucracy tend to function like little cogs, little men clinging to little jobs. Other writers have also pointed out the disadvantages or dysfunctions of bureaucracy. यानी कि पूरा मशीन के तरह बन जाता है अगर आदमी एकदम न्यूट्रल, इमोशनलेस, एफिशिएंट, रूल बाउंड, ऑर्डर है तो करेंगे, ऑर्डर नहीं है तो नहीं करेंगे, ये सब बनेगा तो it will not suit the practical world much. आगे Thus, Merton says that bureaucratic control over officials requiring that they should strictly follow rules induces in them timidity, conservatism, technicism. This is very, very true. Timid का मतलब क्या है? You are not flexible. हर चीज के ऊपर you look at the rule. So, while I was working again, there was this time where this Bharat BH registration started. And that was also the time when I was planning to buy a vehicle. I thought I will get this BH registration done. None of my seniors were ready to put that sign there. कोई तैयार नहीं थे. Because why I will tell you, they were like, because rules are very clear. Your senior, your office senior should put a sign. Your administrative officer should put a sign telling that yes, this person is traveling between 2 or 3 states and therefore they require such a registration. But that's it. One letter, one signature, that's it. They were simply not ready to do it. They were like, बाद में अगर कुछ problem हो गया तो I'm like, बाद में कहाँ होगा? Just put a sign. That's all they are asking. No, 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 no. इस rules के बारे में I need a full rule book about this. इसका कोई rule book नहीं था, बस एक order ही था that all that is required is a sign from the head of office. That's it. They were not ready to give. After more than a week, I went from one senior to another senior to another senior. Nobody was ready to sign. Finally, what I did, let us take a normal registration only. Why we need a BH series? Chodo. Nikal diya. Somebody working in the same department, when they knew it very well that, okay, my place of residence is one place, my work, I was staying in Karnataka, but working in Tamil Nadu, border area. So literally, I needed a registration which will work for both the places. Correct. Simple. कोई अगर चेकिंग के लिए आएगा तो भी समझ में आएगा, हाँ ये रहता है एक जगह, काम कर रहा है दूसरा जगह. Simply not ready. So imagine, खुद के स्टाफ के साथ अगर ऐसा है, आम आदमी के साथ क्या होगा फिर? कंजर्वेटिज्म जो हो रहा है होने दो. We will not change it. We will not change anything. Let everything go as it is. Because even if you want to change something, what is required? Order is required. Technicism, constantly quoting the rules. Hence, the problem is how to maintain efficiency while reducing alienation or the dysfunctions of bureaucracy. The solution to this problem lies mainly in improving the commitment of its members. In other words, the bad effects of bureaucratic controls can to some extent be reduced if the employees are imbued with dedication. Somebody like Armstrong Palme. As per order, he never got any governmental support to construct any road or anything. He utilized his position and power and constructed a more than 100-kilometer road. Dedication or commitment is required also because the employees have constantly to deal with complex problems, many of which are new. It is a mistake to think that all bureaucratic activity is routine and monotonous. Developmental activity in particular requires forecasting, planning, risk-bearing, breaking new ground, and experimentation. Hence, innovations have to be made all the time. The making of innovations or creativity requires emotional commitment. I told you, 90% of your work is what? Routine. 90% it is routine only, no doubt about it. Lekin that 10% is there na, that is enough to give you a headache. Because उस 10% के लिए no training is going to help you, no bookish knowledge is going to help you, no amount of current affairs, whatever you read will help you. What it requires there is a creativity, innovation, think outside the box. Commitment on the part of the members of a bureaucracy leads to effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness means fulfillment of the organizational objectives, and efficiency means doing so with as little expenditure of resources as possible. Effectiveness and efficiency are aspects of the successful working of the organization. However, the organization consists of human beings, and it is also important that they should be happy. To some extent, monetary rewards can make them happy. Equally important, however, is their need for job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is the intrinsic satisfaction which one gets from doing a job. It is obvious that job satisfaction is related to commitment. Commitment leads not only to organizational effectiveness and efficiency, but also to the satisfaction and happiness of the employees. This entire para is nothing but theory why growth needs of Hertzberg, self-esteem, and self-actualization from Maslow. देख लिया है हमने ये सब चीज पहले भी. This is not something new. Like I told you, I'm telling you, repeating it again and again like a stuck tape recorder. सारे पॉइंट्स हमने पहले से भी देख लिया है. ये कमिटमेंट यहां पर हम स्पेसिफिकली इसलिए ला रहे हैं बिकॉज यू मे गेट अ क्वेश्चन, सो यू शुड हैव सम कंटेंट टू राइट. Hence, commitment is significant from both the organizational and individual points of view. Clear? Commitment के बारे में थोड़ा और we will take it up and maybe If not this week, by next week, I think we should be able to wind up our syllabus because we are almost going towards the end of it. All right. One help I need from you people would be, have I taken Vroom's expectancy theory, ERG theory, etc. for you? ERG, Vroom's expectancy, all those topics. I believe I have taken it, but just please cross check it and update it in the Telegram channel. Okay. Thank you.